start over? Somebody keeps sending me these.
You gotta be within 50 feet to send a drop. It's someone in the restaurant.
Think I only want one number in my phone. Number in my phone.
Violet, everything okay?
I'll be right back.
911, what's your emergency?
Hi, my son is being held. What do you want from me? I can't do that. I'll kill you if you hurt my son. When I find out who's threatening my son, I'll show them how dangerous a mother can be. I know it's you. How's this date going? First date jitters.
No, you're killing it.
So welcome back to the SWAU's official channel with your host, me, Bryan, and the Conversation with the Stars series. And what a guest. I'd like to call him my friend. He has been in Memphis Belle, Designated Survivor, and now in cinemas in Drop, which is doing so well. The reviews are amazing. It's a wonderful Reed Diamond. Reed, welcome to the show, sir.
Oh, Bryan, it is so good to be here. And I would like to say that may I call you my friend, because I feel the same way.
Good.
I think we are friends. I feel like we're friends. Don't you, Bryan? I mean,
that
come on.
connection across the pond is strong, my friend.
It's very strong. It's very strong. I feel it, and as soon as I feel it. I feel it when I wake up in the morning. It's pretty much you know what, Bryan? You're the wind beneath my wings. That's all I want to say.
I can't get better than that, and I can't say that about the many other plethora of guests I've had previously on this channel and my other channel. But you know what? It's great to have you on, because the last time we spoke, it was the actors' strike on my other channel, and it's really nice to have you on, and we can actually talk about a wonderful project that you're in, that you're doing, which is really, really exciting. So Drop has released as of yesterday. So tell me about the movie and whom you play.
Well, Bryan, I will tell you what I can. I mean, yes, when the last time we spoke, it was delightful. I think it actually formed our bond, because it was during the actor strike, so I couldn't talk about anything I was involved with, and which I imagine was profoundly frustrating for you. But we made a good go of it. Drop is a super cool modern Hitchcockian thriller. It's a 90-minute thrill ride, for lack of a better word. It's a roller coaster ride, starring the incredibly talented Meghann Fahy, who there's only 3 actors in my entire life that I've seen doing something, and I said to myself, I have to work with them. And I've gotten to work with all 3. The first was Malcolm McDowell. So I saw Malcolm McDowell when I watched in Clockwork Orange. I was probably 16, watching a VHS copy of it, and I go, I have to work with that guy. And then I was lucky enough to be on a TV series with him for 4 years, but it took me a while to get there. And then the other one was Kevin McKidd. I saw Kevin McKidd in Rome, and I go, oh, we have to play brothers. And then 2 years later, we played brothers on Journeyman, on an NBC show, a sadly short-lived show, with the delightful Kevin McKidd and Meghann Fahy. I saw her in the second season of The White Lotus, and I don't know what it was, but I said, I have to work with her. So this job came along. There you
go.
Come on, man.
There you go. I am prepared. So this is the lovely Meghann.
That's Meghann at the premiere. Just stunning, super cool.
There is more pictures to come, Reed. Don't you worry. I've come prepared. I've come prepared.
Those pictures are gonna come. I love it. No, that's fantastic. That's great. Put cake on table. No, it's like it. So Drop was a magical mitzvah, the way it all came to be, because I called my agent I just finished a job where I was playing another one of my legion of douchebags in nice suits. Basically was, some sort of iteration of Bernie Madoff, Jeffrey Epstein in a lovely Hugo Boss suit. And I called my agent on a Monday morning. I said, I can't do this again. I want to change it up. I want to play a guy who is like me, like a nice guy, a sweet guy, maybe like a vulnerable guy. I don't want to play a guy who's just looking really good and then turns out to be, some evil douchebag. So she goes, hold on. And she presented me the next day with this character in Drop. And who was that? A sweet, schlubby guy. I think he was described as a schlub. And it was very interesting too, because the casting people were like, well, we don't really see Reed in this part as a schlubby guy, but if he wants to put himself on tape, he can put himself on tape. And I thought, well, I'm never going to get it because it's starring Meghann Fahy, who I want to work with, and it's shooting in Ireland. And last year was my 20th wedding anniversary to the beautiful and talented Mrs. Diamond, Marnie McPhail Diamond, and we got married in Ireland 20 years ago. So we were going to go anyway to bring our kid, who's now 16 or 15 at the time, to see where we got married. So I was like, there's no way. It's perfect. Meghann Fahy in Ireland, and this is a character I need to play. I had the job by the end of the week. And that rarely happens. It rarely happens when it comes together like that. And I just love the script. I love the part. Like I say, all I can say, because it is a thriller with lots and lots of twists and turns, I'm just a loser, a big who's on a date there as well, but it was an amazing experience shooting it, because it's basically almost the whole movie takes place in one location in this restaurant, and they built an amazing, a functional restaurant, 2 stories off the ground inside a stage outside of Dublin, and everything works. They were literally serving the meals. The food was so good that Brandon Sklenar, the male lead, the very, very sexy and just ruggedly handsome and just brilliantly talented, iconic Brandon Sklenar, he would take the food home. Yes. Oh, Bryan! If I didn't love you already,
do you know what?
Yeah,
Brandon's DNA is just something that needs to get checked out. Him in 1923. It had me in tears. I don't know if you watched that, but the end of 1923, absolutely in tears. But there you go. I wanted the audience to see who we're talking about. This stud of a man there.
So great. He is a stud of a man, and just like a throwback, right? I mean, I love Brandon's brand, and his brand is Brando. I mean, he is a hunky, cool, sexy dude from another time. I mean, he's smart and wild and unique, and that he was a highlight. The whole cast was great, but yeah, we're shooting. So he liked the food was so good being served at our fake restaurant that he would take the steaks home at night to eat for his dinner. Because that man, he needs to get his protein for sure, because to maintain those sexy muscles. Yes. But yes. So it was an incredible experience. The crew in Ireland is just through the roof. I mean, it's very rare in this day and age to work with such passionate crews. And these guys everyone had read the script and everyone knew what was going on. And we were all there, and fortunately, we shot it sequentially. So it was a very interesting experience. So you get to the restaurant by page 12 or 10 of the script. I don't remember. And we just were there until we got to page 69 or wherever. And so you're just there for weeks. I was sitting with my date that's not going very well for weeks and weeks, having lovely chats, and got to know all the other restaurant patrons. But it was a magical experience, and just a really great throwback of a movie, and that a classic thriller. And as Chris Landon, our wonderful director, describes it, it's just a roller coaster ride. So you get up to the top, and then once you're at the top, it just goes. And there's no, as I say, the beautiful Mrs. Diamond and I have a home motto as far as work or creative endeavors, and it's "Don't bore us, get to the chorus." And right, so this movie is all chorus, no verse. There's not 1 ounce of fat. It's just all meat and muscle, and I love it. Yeah, it was, and I can say no more about any of the machinations, but Meghann Fahy is spectacular, and Brandon Sklenar, and it was just great shooting in Ireland and being there for a few months.
I mean, the trailer looks incredible. It really does.
Yeah.
I get what you're saying about the chorus, because I can tell from the trailer alone how intelligently written this film is, because you get some that literally you just think, oh, this is a pile of poop. But I mean, when you got the script and you read, and for an actor like yourself, it must be so rewarding to actually have such a great, piece of work in front of you to be part of. So when you read that script, did you think to yourself, you know what, I've made a great choice here?
Oh, no, it was beyond. I was so excited to play this character because, like I say, it was very different than anyone I'd ever played before. I mean, and so because I just felt like I was using about 10% of what I was capable of. And so it's always nice to have a challenge. And as I say, the way I approach work is there's two types of jobs I go to. And we may have discussed this before, but it's like the one is, how can I make this good, right? And those are the jobs where, you have to polish a few turds. But then the jobs that you love is like, I hope I'm good enough, right? You just want to be. So this one was, it was a challenge, but I was so excited, and that's what I'm a man of a certain age, and there's something so wonderful and joyful about this business where you just can't wait. You can't wait to be there. Then you go to work the next day, and it's great. I do so much television. So it's always open-ended, and you don't necessarily know where it's going to go. And it's very satisfying to have a movie to work on, a well-constructed movie where you can really prepare. And I had a decent amount of time, rare in this day and age. I probably had a few weeks to really prepare and know it backwards and forwards. So by the time you're there, you're just ready to go. And there were a lot of challenges. Technically, it was the camera moves. Our amazing director of photography, Mark Spicer. It looked beautiful. I always talk about when I go to a set. Sometimes I'll go to Video Village, which is where the directors and the producers hang out and watch what's being filmed. And I just like to look at a frame. And I looked at Mark's frame, and you're just going, oh, it's a joy to act in that, because you can just see how beautifully lit it is. And you go, because sometimes if you work with great DPs, you're going, I barely have to do anything. Just if I exist within this frame, it's going to be good. Just like this frame, frame here with you, Bryan. Yeah, so no, it was incredibly satisfying. It's so much fun to work on. Everyone was just great. And it's nice to be on location too. I mean, the economics of the business had gotten to the point prior to the pandemic where literally if you were on a show and you were only shooting 1 or 2 days, they would just fly you in for those 2 days. And in the old days, when there was a little bit more money in productions, everyone would be together the whole time. And that's one of my favorite things, because as much as I love acting, I love hanging out with actors because they have the best stories, as per Malcolm McDowell. I mean, really, I think the only reason I was on Franklin and Bash for 4 years was just to get every single story from him. And in fact, one of my favorite Franklin and Bash memories is John Landis came in to direct. He was a guest director one week. And so I was literally like in the middle of 2 stereo speakers. I had Malcolm McDowell on one side and John Landis on the other, just trading stories back and forth. Well, yeah, when I worked with when I shot Thriller with Michael Jackson, he did this. And when I was with this, and it's just going back and forth. I just asked them just the right question to prompt another story. But so being on location is really great, because now we were all together for the whole time. So you're having dinners, and the first night before we all shot in the restaurant, you're getting together in an actual restaurant in Dublin with the producers and the director and the cast, and you're meeting there. And it's just a nice way to start, to have that camaraderie. I really enjoy that. And it's always fun to be around creative, interesting people, because those are the stories. I mean, one of the worst things that ever happened to set was the cell phone. Once the iPhone came around, those first few years, where normally you'd be sitting around waiting in the green room or wherever you are to go on, you'd chat and you'd hear stories. You'd sit at the knee of Joanne Woodward or whoever had the great good fortune to work with, and you're just listening to their stories and you're learning about your craft and the history of what you do. And then that sort of went away for a while. People were just playing dumb Angry Birds for a few years, but luckily that's come back again. And it was funny too. They had on this one, because we were on this beautiful restaurant set, we had this little tent that they put us in on the raised platform, a couple stories up. So we were always in there just getting our food and just doing bits and singing songs and being told to be quiet while the other people were shooting. Because that's the other problem, is actors are children. So if you get us together, it's like an unruly third grade class. But yeah, it was really special, and there were no duds in the group, and a lot of fun. Now I was, of course, having gone from usually being the youngest cast member of any show to I'm pretty sure I was the oldest in this one. I was always the first to go home, but I had my family with me. So the kids, I just go out and party and paint the town red. I need to get up and be ready in the morning.
I mean, with this shoot, correct me if I'm wrong, but you were in Ireland for around 6 weeks. Is that right? And then, I should imagine on the actual set, because it's all based in the restaurant, that for that 6 weeks, all these background actors as well had to be in those seats. Mm-hmm. I mean, what was that environment like to be in? Because it's like literally day in, day out, they've got to be in the same position, same clothes, continuity, It must have been crazy at times.
Well, I mean, one of the challenges of continuity, as you refer to, was just that everyone had to be at a different place in their meal. And so they made these huge charts and they'd figured it all out. But working with the background, I personally feel that background is probably the background actors are probably the most important element of anything that's happening on screen, because if they're not in it, if they're not invested and connected and brought into the whole piece, if I see one background actor not in that moment on any show I'm on, it takes you out right away. Yeah. And because I always hang out with the background, make sure they know what's going on, because sometimes on shows they don't know, they're just plopped in. I was doing Orphan Black Echoes, the show we couldn't talk about the last time we were together, and I come into the scene, I've got my gun drawn, I'm about to kill somebody or something like that, and as I'm walking by, I see two guys doing background acting where they're looking at a chart and showing the chart to the other guy, and I was like, I'm sorry, I know it's not my position, but I have to call cut. I was like, this can't happen. Do you understand that there's sirens going off? People are running everywhere. There's madcap panic. People aren't comparing their charts. And I said, I'm so sorry, guys. I think I'm going to put you out of a job for this one scene. But you wouldn't be here because people are about to get killed. But wouldn't
it be funny if everyone was running around, the alarms are going, and these two men are just looking at their charts like it's a Sunday afternoon?
Exactly. Yeah, just doing their ER acting, their Law and Order law office acting. No, that would be great. It just we weren't making that show. No, but you're right, Bryan. That would be high comedy. But this group was on drop. The background were amazing, and I went to them. I think right before we wrapped, and I went to their room and just told them how, because they all had their green room, and just told them how important and how grateful I was that they were there, because that made the difference, because you had to really believe that they were there. And also, I think we're all actors, right? So we're all actors in that scene, and it's important that everyone feels part of that family, and they certainly did. And they brought their A game, and it was delightful, and we had lots of fun, but they were great, and they were essential. And I know, in fact, I was just every shot that I watched when I went to the premiere last week, and I'm looking at the back, and they're so in it, and I know them all now too. It's it wasn't just a 2-hour dinner, right? It was 6 weeks with those people, and it was really great to see all those sweet faces, and it was a lot of fun. It was a fun set.
I mean, while you was in Ireland, you mentioned that you got married 20 years ago. Mm-hmm. Did you go traveling then after shooting? Did you have much time in Ireland to actually enjoy it again?
Oh yeah, it was great, because we really wanted to take our daughter back to the place we got married in the west of Ireland. And so I think the first weekend we were there, or maybe first or second weekend we were there, my wife and daughter went off there while I was starting shooting, and they went there, and the same family runs it. And then I met up with them once I'd finished shooting for that week, and took the train out to Galway, and they picked me up there and brought me down to where we got married. And so we got to go around a lot. My daughter was doing school from the room because she's homeschooling, so she can travel. But we certainly saw all of Dublin, which I hadn't been to in a long time, because usually when we go to Ireland, we're just out in the country, out in the west. And then my wife rented a car, because there were a few places she hadn't gone. And so she tooled up to the north, because she always wanted to see the north and Giant's Causeway and all that stuff, and then came down the south. And then by the time I'd wrapped, she was back where we'd gotten married. And so we went out there again. My daughter and I took the train out, and she picked us up in Galway. And then we did the west and the southwest and the south of Ireland. And it's just, Ireland is just the best, right? It's just, the people are so, I've been going there since I was a kid. I went there the first time when I was about 8, because my dad, back when Ireland was at the time was the poorest country in Europe. And my father had been hired by the Irish Tourist Board to like make a sort of a travel documentary. He did this travel show for a local New York television station. So I remember going there as a kid and just falling in love with it and falling in love with the people, right? And everyone was just so warm. And it's that thing of like, you just give a little and you'll just get it back 100-fold. But it was neat. And then we went back when my wife and I got married, 20 plus years ago now. And it was neat to see how well Ireland was doing financially, but it was also that none of the charm was gone. And that character had remained strong, and we love it. But yeah, we got the tool all around, and I drank a fair amount of Guinness because I only do it there. I save it for there, but and it's basically it's like a health drink, right? It's like an Irish smoothie.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, many years ago when you used to give blood, donate blood, they used to give you a pint of Guinness afterwards because of the iron. Right. Obviously, they've changed that now, and they give you a cup of tea and a biscuit. So it's a bit sad, I'm sure there's people not going to donate now because obviously they can't get their free pint. But with this film drop, I mean, obviously you can't say too much about it, but how would you compare it with other films out there? I mean, what sort of feel has it got? I mean, I've been hearing that it's got the same feel as Red Eye. By Cillian Murphy, the thriller that's on the plane. I mean, how would you compare it to other films?
It's a classic, really well crafted psychological and thriller, and using the convention of, as we know, from she's getting these drops, she's getting these airdrops, these digi drops, what we call them in the movie, and so she's being manipulated and tortured and threatened through this, and it actually happened to the actual producers. That's where the story came from.
Yeah, I read that. Yeah.
And so, because that's what I like is, as the stories always remain the same, but the technology changes. So throughout time, you have different ways of torturing someone. Like you got that Kiefer Sutherland movie where he's being tortured through a phone booth, right, where you can't leave a space, or you've got so whatever the technology is, and so before I'm sure they made a carrier pigeon version of this where you're just getting notes dropped at you and you're being threatened from in 1908. But the airdrop thing is particularly, you carry around this little device and you can be controlled through it, and there's all the beautiful use of that. It's really well crafted too, in the way that the drops appear and the tension ratchets up, and then of course she can see that what's happening at home through her home cameras that she can watch on her phone, and the gravity and the intensity of the threat is made clear. I mean, the way I look at this movie is nowadays, especially because everyone's got such great home theaters, there's certain movies you don't necessarily need to see at the theater with other people. This, I think, quite consciously was designed as a movie that one would want to go see in the theater with other people, where 90 minutes nonstop, no escape. You can't get up, go to the bathroom. You can't do any, you're not going to go up and check your phone. You're not going to do any of those things. Make a fluff and nutter sandwich in the kitchen. You're going to watch this whole movie. And that was what was fun the first time to watch it. And like I said, I'm going to go watch it again today with, no industry people, watch it in the small town I'm in right now. And, but people were screaming and cheering at all the right moments. And that's really satisfying. I mean, it's well crafted. I mean, Chris is, very technically proficient, and he knew what he wanted to do. And it just moves. Once you know what's going on, it has a beautiful sort of like sweet setup. And then once it drops, once the threat drops, it's a rocket ride. And that's fun. And that's what I want, if you're going to go there. I don't want to see, it's not, well, to put it this way, it's not The Brutalist. There will be no intermission. It's just, it's going to hit.
So basically you're saying it's a perfect date movie.
It's definitely, I think it's I think it is the perfect date movie. And that's what I mean, even though it's a date gone wrong, very, very, very wrong. I think it feels like a date movie, and it feels like, you'll definitely want to be holding hands and all that.
Can you imagine
stuff.
if you went to go and see the film and you were sat in the cinema and then you were just dropping airdrops around during the film?
Yeah.
I might do that tomorrow. No, I won't, because that's been really mean.
I think they were rude. Someone was talking at the premiere, like, are they going to drop stuff to us while we're watching the movie? Do they have all the? But I didn't notice that happened. I don't think it happened, but it'd be great. But Sorry,
but
go ahead,
also
Bryan.
you mentioned this is based on sort of something that happened in real life. The difference is that was Shrek memes that was being sent. So this is slightly different, and I see they've upped the game. But I've seen here, like, you've got Jason Blum as one of the producers, but Michael Bay is one of the producers.
No. Michael
the
Bay,
man
Michael
that
Bay.
I would absolutely give my left arm to meet or speak, because he doesn't mess about with his films, which is great. But I want to talk about the premiere, because with a big movie comes a premiere. I mean, what was that like? Because I'm going to bring a lovely picture here of the perfect picture,
wow.
the perfect picture, which is you and your family. I mean, if there wasn't a picture out there that displays the perfect family, look at this. You must be such a proud man to have such a beautiful wife and a beautiful daughter. I mean, what was that like to take them to a premiere, but to your premiere for your movie?
Well, Bryan, I love you so much. And thank you for framing it this way, because that's exactly it. Like, so the movie, it was great to be part of the movie, but to have this premiere, and this was my daughter's first premiere that she ever went to.
Wow.
And it was at the freaking Chinese theater in Hollywood. Like, there could be no more iconic movie palace, legendary, to see as you're walking up, there are all the footprints and the handprints. There's Cary Grant. There's everybody, Marlene Dietrich, whoever's there. And it was so because when it happened, I said to my kid, I was like, do you want to go? And she's like, I definitely want to go. And then that was it. The ball was rolling. And so I made sure the whole family could go. And it could not have been a better way to have your introduction to all of the fun and silliness of Hollywood. I mean, as you pull up on Hollywood Boulevard to get right in front of the theater, the street's closed off. You've got cops just there just because your cars are coming through. And I'm like, look, they've shut down Hollywood Boulevard so we can show up and have our picture taken. And it was magical. And everyone got to get dressed up. And and we got some nice family photos that you've showcased so brilliantly. But no, that was a dream come true. And she had the best time. And she got to go to the party and hang out and see everybody. But the highlight for her, I'm on the red carpet. We're right at the entrance to the Chinese theater, about to go on, and the actor Logan Lerman's there, who I'm sure you know, and Logan. I did a movie with Logan like almost 20 years ago when he was a kid, right? And I just loved him, and he was so great. And I'm like, Logan, it's so good to see you, man. And he's like, oh, it's so good to see you. And my daughter's like, how does my dad know Logan Lerman, right? Because she's Percy Jackson and all this stuff, and it was just so funny.
You've got the Riz, as they say, the youngsters. You know what I mean?
I'm scared to say the Riz because I feel like it's probably not. Is it a good thing to have the Riz?
Yeah, my daughter says it is. So I mean, I trust my 11-year-old. She knows everything apparently.
Oh, they do. Oh, they know everything. Yes. No. I mean, it just sounds very viscous, guys. So I was a little concerned about the Riz, but I guess I have the Riz, Bryan. I have the Riz.
Yes, the Riz.
And so I rose. I think I'm in relatively high esteem with my kid, but I went up just a notch. So that was the highlight, and got to hang out with him, and that's a fun thing too. Talking about what we do. What's so fun about this life, and my wife talks about it because she retired for about 13 years to be a mom. And when the things she missed most, I don't think she missed the acting the most. She missed the camaraderie and the people, because, people in this business just tend to be fast and funny and just full of life and bring life to life. And one of those things too, you make these very intense connections because you have to be intimate right away. You may have just met that morning, but you have to be father, daughter, husband, wife. You have to be best friends, whatever it is. You have to create this very quickly. So sometimes you'll be at the end of day one and you'll be like, have we been here a month? Have we been here a year? You don't know, right? So those connections are very intense. So you might not see someone like I literally hadn't seen Logan in like 20 years and then 19 years. And we're like, oh man, let's go, and you just pick up sort of where you left off. And that's one of my favorite things. I have so many good friends that I've made in this business, and I might go a decade without between seeing them. And then when you do, you sort of pick up and it's I mean, I guess, it seems it's probably very cliche, but like it's all the people part of it is really essential. And those
I suppose that when you spend so much time apart, the time that you have spent with them, it's been quite intense, hasn't it? It's been full on. So that's where you share that experience. So when you do, you know, it's a memory that always lasts. I mean, with your family going to see this premiere, do you ever get nervous around them seeing your work, or are you a case of there it is, or you know, do you get nervous?
Yes. There's two answers to that question. First of all, nervous. I'm nervous. Nervous is important. So like at work, you know, for years I used to pretend that I wasn't nervous, but why wouldn't you be nervous? I'm always nervous on the first day. When I call this job, I call it 1,000 first days of school, because you're showing up with brand new people and they want you to be good, and you want to be good for them, and you don't know anybody, and everyone's nervous. So now the one thing that I usually do now is, as I said, being generally the most senior actor involved in the show, I just always say on the first day, and I remember we were in our little tent here in Ireland, and I was like, oh, I'm a little nervous. And you know, the younger actors like, you are? And, you know, because you don't appear nervous. I'm like, yeah, of course I'm nervous. Like, yeah, I want to do good. I want you guys to like me. I want it to be a good first day. And they're like, oh, and it just takes the tension right out, because everyone's nervous, but sometimes you don't want to admit it, or you think no one's nervous. But it's interesting, having my family at the premiere. Unfortunately, I hadn't seen the movie until the premiere, which is, So Bryan, my first movie was Memphis Belle, and my first premiere was at one of those, you know, huge theaters. It was a royal premiere, and what's the square where all the movie theaters are in London?
Leicester Square.
Leicester Square. So we had a huge royal premiere at Leicester Square. We were each driven up individually in our own Bentleys. We were wearing white tie and tails. And so I am seeing the movie myself for the first time on screen, on a huge screen at this royal premiere. And at the end, someone came up to me like, oh, what'd you think? What'd you think? I was like, well, it was awful. You couldn't hear me. You couldn't hear me. And they're like, what are you talking about? And I was like, every time you just couldn't hear me in the movie. And they're like, what? Of course we could hear you. And then it occurred to me, every time I came on the screen, I was so nervous, like so nervous. My heart was beating so hard that all I could hear was the blood pumping in my ears every day, because I just see myself, and I was just in absolute sheer terror. So that was my first movie experience. But the good news about having my family, which is, you know, obviously they're the reason for the season. They're the reason I do everything, and I love them beyond measure. But it's, you know, having them on location. So we were all on location in Ireland. We all shared one room. We're very good. 3 people can share one room and one bathroom and still get along and have a good time the whole time. But having them there keeps me very grounded. I mean, I'm just not happy when I'm away from them. But having them there, you know, you're still dad, you're still husband, so you sort of stay in a very realistic mindset. But having them there at the premiere was great, because I would have been nervous, I think, if I'd just been by myself. But I was so eager for them to have a great experience and for my daughter to have a great first premiere experience. I didn't really have time to be nervous. I mean, look, you know, there's a lot of fun challenges that go with being an actor, and you know, one of them that occurred to me recently is just, I think we might have talked about prior, you know, my one adage that I always share with actors, like, whatever you think it's going to be like on the day, it's not. Mm-hmm. And the quicker you can learn that and remember it, and it's always true. I mean, always true, right? Like, you know, as I say, like, if you think it's the most important scene in the movie, you've got 30 minutes to shoot it because they're losing the light, or if it's a romantic scene on a beach in, you know, the Caribbean, it's going to be 40 degrees below. On drop, we got so far ahead of schedule. Oh, I mean, if you think you're sitting down in a scene, you're standing up. Like, there was a scene where I was like, oh yeah, I'm definitely sitting down for the scene. No, he's like, no, I want you to walk and do this. I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah, it's never going to be what you think. So, but what also occurred to me is like, you know, and this is a metaphor for life, but you know, the Stoics always say, you know, all you can take care of is what's in your personal control, and very little is in your control. Like, all you can control is how you react to things, and for the most part, control your actions. But being an actor, like, you don't know. So watching things for the first time, you're like, I don't know what takes they used. And also for me as an actor, the joy is in the doing, right? I'm not a director or an editor. So the joy for me is in that moment. And so it's always going to be different than what you experienced, right? And also it's done. it's forever, and the world gets to see it and judge it. But it turned out, really, really great, and it was an amazing character, and the movie looks spectacular, and everyone is so good in it. But it was such a joy to have my family there and take her to the party, and little Hollywood rooftop penthouse party, and it's fun.
And more importantly, is your daughter going to follow in your footsteps as well as her mum?
Well, this is the thing. So, unfortunately, the DNA is very strong, and she is the most talented of the three of us. My daughter is incredible improv comedian. I mean, like, incredible. Like the one. I mean, I've worked with the best, and she's up there. She was in the Teenage Company at Second City in Toronto. Like she's the real deal. But so she has the talent, but she also has two actors for parents, and I think she wants a real life. So she is very focused. We've been looking at colleges for the last few months. She is very set on working in developmental psychology and working with teenagers, and I applaud that. She's also the smartest person in the house too, so she might as well put that to good use. But she will be the funniest person because there was a brief period prior, when she was a little younger, where she was thinking she was going to be a forensic psychologist, and I was like, "Oh, you will be the funniest person at the crime scene for sure." But I mean, but the good news is, like, the entertainment business is always there, and she's supremely talented. But I admire that she wants to actually do something.
And the majority of actors, they also, I often find do like degrees in business or law before they go into acting. So that is always there for her. My girls, both of them, they're 7 and 11, and they want to get into musical theatre, and they want to act. Right. So I've got my hands full right now, because every time I come home, they're either painted green, running around the house with a broom, singing Wicked. So let's hope they get a proper job and get some money in, and follow their dreams afterwards, I suppose.
Well, it's funny, Bryan. Well, they're going to do what they're going to do. Like, I've been doing this since high school, and I did get started with the music. The musicals are the drug that brings you in. There's so much fun. I know.
And then talking about red carpet, have you got any traditions that you do on the red carpet? Because I've got a brilliant photo here. There you go. Of you on the red carpet for Drop. I mean, is there anything that you do, with every red carpet, to prepare for it?
Well, there's something that I do for every red carpet that I didn't do for this one, because I was like, it's time. I feel like I'm the next chapter of my career in life, because we have a diamond family pose, and none of us did it because we were going to be very elegant. But in every photograph we do this, and the whole family does it. I've got my kid at like 2 doing it, and my wife, we just do it. And you know where the diamond family pose comes from? For my wife and I, when we both started in the business, it was before the digital age. So every photograph that had to be taken, every continuity photo, every wardrobe photo, makeup photo, whatever, was taken on a Polaroid, and it would be the color Polaroid, and something about how the dimensions of a Polaroid, it changes it's not the dimensions of real life. So your head looks a little large. No one looks good in a Polaroid. And so, people try to look good in a Polaroid, and you just can't look good in a Polaroid. Yeah. So I was like, well, I know I'm going to look bad in a Polaroid, so I might as well look as goofy as hell. So I have not taken a wardrobe photo, even now that it's digital, where I'm not posing or doing something silly. And then the same thing, because there are 2 types of actors. There's actors who love to have their photograph taken, and then there's, I think, the vast majority who don't like to have their photograph taken. And both my wife and I are of the strain that do not like to have their photograph taken. Very uncomfortable. Like the worst thing, and that's why I never do it. Like, actors have to get headshots, right? I freaking hate it. My wife is using a headshot quite successfully because she's so beautiful and hasn't altered really. She's using one from like 2006,
which isn't that long ago, is it? I hate that. Do you know when someone says 2006 and you actually think how many years ago that is? You think, my word, right? Where's the time gone?
Mm-hmm.
But
No, because yeah, I know. No, I know, Bryan. So we and I finally I do it every 10 years, and my manager calls me down. When am I getting those new photos? And I'm like, I don't know. And now I feel like I'm just going to use these red carpet photos because I'm not a model. I'm an actor.
Yes, exactly. You can mold yourself into anything that you want. But a great photo there with a phone case with Meghann's
Is it fun? Yeah, look at that.
face on it, which looks awesome. It's worked really, really well.
Well, and it's a cool. I mean, I love the marketing for this. Has been really cool. The poster's sort of a throwback, and then it was lovely too. I was just in Los Angeles, obviously for the premiere, and they
poster just there.
Heck, yeah, there it is, mate.
That reminds me of like Hitchcock. Do you know what I mean? The sort of sort of style of poster.
That's exactly what it is. I mean, that's what we're doing, a throwback to that. I mean, this is just a modern Hitchcock, is what this is. I mean, I don't think that anyone's made any. That's the DNA of this. I mean, that's the thriller we're going for, the psychological thriller of a Hitchcockian, film. So, but I love the throwback, and then it's nice to see like a whole side of a building on Sunset Boulevard, with that poster. So it's pretty, and Meghann's got the eyes for it, so it's worked out pretty great.
There you go.
Right?
And then with this film being in the cinema, which is fantastic, because coming out of COVID, we had a difficulty getting back into the cinema, and cinema experience has always been just an incredible experience. Yeah, we've got big TVs at home and we've got great sound systems, but sitting in a room with a giant screen will never be beaten. So how do you see the cinema, like the world of cinema, evolving? I mean, do you feel that it's gonna be less and less, or because we get so much on streaming?
I mean, you're literally asking the question of the hour. And in fact, that was the conversation at the party after the premiere. Like, you just don't know when you're trying to think about like box office and all this kinds of thing. Will people go to the movies? And it's any movie any true movie is definitely, it's better to see it at the cinema. There's no question. And even like the movies that I love, like obviously I watch so much at home, and say I get the I get the screeners. So I get the screeners for all of the Oscar movies or the SAG nominated movies. And the ones that I love, I'm like, I got to go see it in the theater. Like Nora, I want to go see that in the theater because I didn't see it in the theater. And every time I see a movie, especially at a great, if you're seeing it at a great screen with an audience who gets film, it's a infinitely more. Well, that's what it was designed for. I mean, I think some movies. I think what has been great is there were always certain movies that were small movies that didn't necessarily need to be seen in a theater. They play just as well at home. But I think you want to see Dune, and you want to see. But I mean, I want to see a Nora in the theater. I think it's built there. I think those frames are intentional, and I also think that inability to escape is really important, because even if you have to go to the bathroom, and I had to go to the bathroom at the drop premiere, and I'm like, I can't leave, right? I can't leave. You're just like, I'm just going to stay here for it. But if you're in your house, you might take a phone call, you're going to be distracted. You're going to do other things. And look, I love watching stuff at home. And obviously with the multiple golden ages of television we've had, that's great. And that's where you're supposed to do it. But I think a movie is always best seen at the cinema. But I think this film particularly was intentionally constructed to be a movie to see at the cinema. I mean, I don't know what the future is, right? I mean, it's hard. I don't think anyone does, right? I mean, we had COVID, and then we had the strike, and certainly I'd imagine attendance is down, but people still go. People going to see Minecraft movie, right? You just never know, right?
Thank goodness I am working. And my wife's got to take my girls to watch the Minecraft movie. But do you find there's a different kind of energy or reward when you know that your work is going to be experienced in the cinema? I mean, you've done some awesome shows like Designated Survivor that was on Netflix, and now this. Do you feel there's a different type of energy from working on a film that is going to be seen in the theater?
Well, I think. I mean, as a guy who started in film, and the reason I became an actor was all those films that changed my life, the films that I saw in the late 60s and the 70s and the early 80s. I believe in cinema, and I believe it's a different experience, and it needs to be enjoyed that way, right? I mean, you can make a standalone movie for your home entertainment system for television. That's great. But I mean, if you're working with a real filmmaker on a real film, it is designed to be seen in that place with that sound system under those circumstances. And there is something about the collective experience. I mean, seeing Once Upon a Time in Hollywood at the ArcLight in 70 millimeter is just like, I can't create that at home. And it's, and I know I'm beating this to death, but the sort of the no exit, the Jean-Paul Sartre, the inescapability of it, because you're designed to have this experience in this set amount of time. But if you're at home, you can break it up. You can break it in half. You're like, oh, I watched the first half of the movie tonight, and I'll pick up again tomorrow. And there's something about not being able to look away, not being able to get away, especially if it's a challenging film or an emotionally impactful film. And filmmakers are designing it for that, and seeing your head that big and the screen that big and knowing what's being placed in the frame. And it's an art form and it's designed for that. Now, yes, you can make just a small independent romantic comedy or whatever that it doesn't necessarily need to be in the cinema. But I think I'm always glad I do, especially horror, especially thriller, I mean, my God, I remember, I'll never forget the opening sequence of Alien, seeing that in the theater in 1979, just the sound and watching that ship come across the frame. And I was just like, and you're there, or like, dude, I go see the opening day of Apocalypse Now, 1979, same year, like, and you're just hearing the helicopters fly behind you, and then you hear the opening strains of the Doors song, and then it's like, and then the napalm explodes the jungle, and you can't have that. It's not the same at home. It's not. You can't. The sound and the experience. So I hope people will come back. I hope it doesn't become like a museum piece, right? And also, and you referenced this earlier, by talking about how satisfying to work on a film as opposed to a television show. I also think, we've gotten a film is a finite piece of art, right? It has a beginning, a middle, and an end. And that's exciting for an audience and it's exciting for an actor. And the problem with so much television, and I see this all the time, they wrote a first season and they got no plan after that. And so sometimes, especially, unless you're working with the best of the best, sometimes I feel like I'm being dragged along and I'm going to be left holding the bag, right? And we won't name any shows, but and also, like, there's nothing worse than a second season of a show. And I see this often with very popular shows where, oh, you didn't think you were going to get a second season. So now you're like, oh, we may get 4 seasons. So then you start the slow roll. So, first season's like gangbusters, like plot, interesting. And then second season's like, oh, let's do a side episode and let's go over here. Yeah. And I was like, oh, you don't have a plan. Working with Joss Whedon, I mean, he was the first person I ever remember working with. And I think the only person who knew, when we did Dollhouse, we only got through 2 seasons, but he had the whole 5 seasons planned. He had a plan, and you can see it. You can see the shows. Vince Gilligan has a plan, right? These guys have a plan. So when you're working with that television is very satisfying, where they're dropping the crumbs that will be picked up. The Wire, you feel that so much with The Wire, and so many good shows. But if they're just like, hey, let's shoot for the, let's aim for the fences, and oh my God, we got picked up again. Oh, now we're all thinking about second homes and stuff.
And it must be frustrating for you as well, because as an actor on a limited series, you get the start, middle, and an end. On a film, start, middle, and an end. And I feel sorry for shows that are incredible, like Dollhouse, where people might not want to watch it because they might think, well, I'm just going to really enjoy it and know that I'm going to be left not knowing, or with a lot of shows out there that have been cancelled because it's not because of the material, but it's down to the money. And for an actor being on a project, not knowing if you're going to be, because I presume you get signed on for like a certain amount of seasons, and then you're playing that character and you're not knowing, that must be frustrating as well.
Yes, this is why my daughter's going into a real job. Yes, because you never know. You never know. And that's what I was saying. Like, my new thing that I've been thinking about is, as an actor, you have to have such a very, as I think a human, but certainly with an actor, you have to have a very profound relationship with no control. You have no control about your craft, except for what you do in that moment. And you have no control about I can't tell you how many things you've been on. We're like, this is it. We're all getting Oscars and we're going to be rich and no one sees it. And then you do that show and you're like, really? We're back? We're doing more of it? And, but then you were also asking from a character point of view, on those limited series, what's going to be, but Designated Survivor. And what's so funny, I'll be on shows where they won't tell you anything. Sometimes actors are very often actors are treated like children. And so like, well, we're not going to tell you. It's going to be a surprise. So you don't know what the next script holds. You don't know where your character's going. So oftentimes, especially me, as I started playing more of sort of villainous characters, I would just, when I first got there, if they wouldn't tell me, I would kind of play it down, not down the middle, but I would be, that's why I think it's probably why I developed sort of the charming douchebag. So I'd be likable, but also probably a scumbag. But I never knew if I was because I didn't know. And on Designated Survivor, I said, I know you're not going to tell me anything. I said to the creator, I know you guys aren't going to tell me, but I go, am I a good guy or a bad guy? That's all, simple shit like that. And he's like, well, you appear to be the bad guy, so you're probably the good guy. I'm like, oh, great. It's like a riddle within a riddle.
Honestly, that is the most frustrating death of yours for me personally from Designated Survivor. Literally, I was like, no, he's actually really nice, and he's really and it just really frustrated me. It really did. I mean, talking about being on sets, is there one thing?
Can I just tell you one thing about that death?
Yeah.
Before that death was so absolute, and there was we were on like our 6th showrunner at this point, and I was beloved by the cast, I was beloved by the writers, all this kind of stuff. But I think that showrunner had a beef with my then agent not about me. They had another client on the show, so that showrunner had me blown up by a nuclear bomb so that I could never come back. Right, so it was to have as an fu to my ex-agent. So that was a bit shocking because everyone's like, when's Reed coming back? When's Reed coming back? We want Reed back. And he's like, yeah, Reed's coming back.
Wow, that is harsh. That is like literally message received.
I got rid of that agent. I'm glad you
said,
sure,
yeah. I was going to say, I'm glad that you said my then agent, which is good because they can make it or break it, I presume, because it's all about relationships and networking and everything like that. So I was going to say, being on set and being on film sets, is there one thing that you can't live without? The one thing that you need to have with you on all sets?
Water and food. Water and food. I bring my own food and coffee. Lots of coffee. I never eat off the craft service table. No, that's the beauty. It's like it's different every time. And that's what's so cool. Like I feel like as I think about acting a lot, and I love acting, I mean, the one thing you can't live without is, like I said, like whatever you think it's going to be like on the day, it's not. It's going to be different. And I think the acting part is like the easiest part of the job. The hardest part of the job, and I think the acting is the art of it, but the craft of it is carving out the space to do your work when almost all forces are aligned against you. It's never, because it's the only reason lots of people can act. Lots of people can do it. It's not that hard. What's hard is doing it under the worst possible conditions. And it's always the worst possible conditions. And so that's the challenge. Like, when I did Better Call Saul, I had this beautiful scene with Giancarlo Esposito, right? And I'm like, this is great. Can't wait. Oh my God, I'm coming in at 5 p.m. I'll probably be back. I'll be in the bar by midnight. It's a 6-page scene. We'll just do it. We'll knock it out. And I was like, oh, they have to shoot some other scenes after me that have to be in the dark. So we definitely won't go till sunrise. I've got like a 9 o'clock flight in the morning. I'm going to make my flight. Cut to, we don't get to my coverage on that scene. I start acting that scene at 5 p.m. 14 hours later at 7 a.m. we do my close-up. And at this point, I've done the scene so many times. everyone on the set, literally all the background actors, are sleeping on the floor. Half the crew who's not working actively, they're sleeping on the floor. I realize if I sit down for 1 second, if I sit down, I will go to sleep and I will never wake up, because it's like, this is bedtime. And then you go like, well, this sucks. This wasn't ideal. This wasn't how I planned it. But I'm like, you got two choices. You can, I don't know, complain and nothing's going to happen. Or you just like, you just put those big boy pants on and you do it, because the audience never knows. And that's, they you know, every time's the first time. They don't know that you've been there for 14 hours and you know, I lost my voice at one point because I'd said the scene so many times. I had to use my little Juilliard techniques to get my voice back. And then they went on to shoot another scene. So I'm just in my trailer from like 2 to 5, just dancing to new wave music so I could stay awake. Right. But you know, that's what you do. So I think the thing is, you just have to, the most important thing on set is just like keeping it together and keeping yourself in check, and just realizing, that it's never going to be what you think it's going to be, and how little, and all you have control over is how you behave and how you act. And you just try to, you know, just dig deep and be in the moment and live moment to moment. And that's the challenge of it. And that's the fun of it. Right. Cause if it was easy and ideal, everyone could do it.
I really admire you, because it's one of those industries that I suppose you can never relax. You can never sit back and put your feet up entirely, because, you know, you're looking for the next contract, for the next job, the next audition. I mean, if you could go back and give, you know, Reed in his first role one bit of advice, what advice would you give him? Get out.
Go to law school. Yeah. No, you know, absolutely. I should have, you know, as you said earlier, I was like, get your MBA, go to law school. But the thing is, like, you can't give anyone any advice, because that's the other thing too. And you must recognize this as a parent. Like, there's lessons you can impart, there's philosophies you can, you know, and whatever, principles, whatever you can hand down. And, you know, some of that may land, but as you know, like, there's so much that you can only learn through experience. And it's interesting, you know, Kyle Secor and I did this podcast last year, where a rewatch podcast of the show, about the show we did, Homicide: Life on the Street. And to a man and to a woman and to a person, everyone on that show has this, that show held a profound psychological space in everyone who was part of it. And to each person, there's a huge regret that they didn't handle whatever they did there differently. And the lesson is that you couldn't have handled it any other way. And that's where you learn the lesson. Because, you know, a wiser man than I, you know, not a coach, a therapist, said to me, you know, it's like, you either get what you want or you get the lesson. And we got a lot of lessons. And I wouldn't be the man I am today if I hadn't struggled through that whole homicide experience and then spend years questioning it. And then everyone felt that way. And everyone's like, oh, I wish I could do it over again. And I think that's life, right? Like, you could, if someone gave me the advice that I needed at 17, I wouldn't have listened to them. I bet someone did, right? You know, and it's your journey, right? And the way I always think about it too is like, every road I took and every road I didn't take led me to the place where I get to be at a premiere with my wife and daughter. Like, I have my family because of that.
And that is exactly how I've always thought. You know what? Someone asked me today, actually, funny enough, do you regret anything, you know, in your life? And I said no, because things happened in the past. Either if it's a bad thing, a good thing, the struggles I've been through, that has taken me on this journey to where I am now, with 2 beautiful little girls, a stepson, a beautiful wife, 3 cats, which I'm, you know, are annoying, but we've got the cats. But it's all gone to that point. So, you know, I suppose if you gave yourself that advice to begin with, you're sort of cheating, because you wouldn't be the person and the actor that we see on screen now from those experiences. So, yeah, I suppose. Yeah. It's weird, isn't it? When you think, Yeah.
No, you can't. You just it takes you where, because every job I didn't get led me to the job that I should have gotten and got.
Yes.
And, you know, and like, you know, and of course, and the most important thing is that it led me to my wife and to my daughter. And like, I was supposed to do I met my wife on a movie. I wasn't supposed to go do that movie. I was supposed to go do another show. And then I get there and it all comes together. And, you know, it only makes sense in retrospect. And, you know, that John Lennon quote that I love, it's like, life's what happens while you're making other plans. Right. And it's good to have goals and feel like, but this, you know, the theme that we keep coming back to is like control. Like you think you can control the outcome. And I watch, you know, there's very strategic and smart. I mean, there's certainly much more cunning and smarter people than I. And I think they may have but that's also, you know, I had a certain degree of maturity and I had a certain degree of openness, but there's people who are much more mature at 17 and have a sense of like who they are. And, you know, that was a longer process for me to really understand and like who I was. And I certainly didn't even remotely like who I was probably until I met my wife. And I was like, oh, I like you and you like me. So there must be something worthwhile in this guy. But that's the journey, right? Speak of the devil, there she is sneaking in the background.
Behind every strong man, there's a strong woman.
Much stronger, much stronger. But yeah, so I'm glad you feel that way too, because I think that's it. That's, you know, it's an adventure, and you know, and we're very lucky. You know, I say that all the time. Like we're very lucky to do what we do. I'm very lucky. I'm so lucky to have my family, and it's been great now that my wife is back in the business too and doing great. She just finished the new Simu Liu series, and she's in the last M. Night Shyamalan movie, kicking butt. But it's great too because it's fun to talk shop with my best friend. So we live together. It's also like we make the best self tapes in the world because I'm working with my favorite actor in the world.
Excellent.
And also just merciless. We're merciless with each other, but in the best possible way, because our number one direction, because we know when the other one's faking, and we hate fakers. We always want it to be real and in the moment. So she's always just like, her number one direction to me and my number one direction to her is the same thing. She's like, more Reed, and I'm like, more Marnie, you know, just more like your thing, like that little special sauce. Because that's the other thing too. It's like, you just do what you do, you know, and I mean, I'm very blessed, right? You know, there's years where, you know, everything's going gangbusters and everyone's living high on the hog. And there's the years in between where you're like, all right, I'm going to use that high on the hog money to get us through these periods. But as far as like the joy of acting, I love it more than ever. I love it so much. I mean, I really had I can't remember if we talked about this before, but I think like 7 years ago, I was sort of like, I was doing a lot of stuff that I didn't like, that was just paying the bills. And then I met my new manager who I just adore. And I was with my new agent after I got rid of the other agent. And suddenly they were like, no, this is what we're going to do. And I really found my love of it again, like profoundly, what got me started. And I've been doing it professionally for 40 years, like this month.
Wow.
And I mean, earning a living at it for the last 40 years. And I'm as excited as I was at 17 and 16, you know, now. And that's great. And we're lucky to do what we do, you know, to play pretend for a living, and people pay you. And then, you know, they send a car for you to have your picture taken at a red carpet, you know, and that's, you know, you get to go to Ireland to make a movie, you know, those are dreams comes true. And especially too, like, I realize as we move all the time and live in different places and go, you know, like, I never really thought that I was the gypsy, but I think we are. Like people are like, where do you live? It's all good, pal. And, you know, but the vagabond life. But she was looking. Oh, did you think that you can say that word in this context? Okay. Sorry. I was thinking of the gypsy lifestyle, but the vagabond, the peripatetic. I will say the peripatetic, where you go, like people are like, where do you live? And I'm like, I don't know. We're living these two places right now, and we'll probably Maine next, but who knows? But it's a great life, and I get to meet, you know, I get to have an incredible conversation with my buddy Bryan, you know, and talk about fun stuff, and I mean. Yeah, it's a good life.
And what is next for you? Can you share anything? I mean, the actors' strike is over, so you can tell us all. But I can see on your IMDb you've finished a project. I don't know if you can talk about it. It's a road to something.
The Road to La Tap tour. Yeah, that's a really cool small movie. I loved all the people involved. That's coming out probably soon. That's going to be good. I can talk about that. That was another one where I played a dad who's I was so excited. It was actually, it was Kyle. Kyle had the part, and we were doing the podcast. And he's like, I can't do it. He's like, let me show you the script. This great woman I know wrote it, and she's starring in it. And I read the script, and I'm like, oh, this is exactly what I want to be doing. I was so desperate to play a dad who was sort of similar to me. And so we had the best time, and they were lovely. So I went to New Hampshire for a week or whatever and shot this movie, and they were lovely. So I'm excited to see that one. And it was fun to, in that sort of, because I really did want to change it up. Like I felt like I said, I felt like I was using about 10% of what I was capable of to, in some of these parts. And so it's nice to explore just other colors, and do other stuff. So that movie's coming out, and then I just got something that's very exciting, and like will is going to be seen by many, many people in a new show, but I can't say one word about it.
Oh.
I couldn't talk about Drop until like 3 weeks ago. I didn't even tell my father that I was in it, because they were like, you can't tell anyone you're in it. You can't tell anyone it's happening. So they didn't, so it was just like 2 or 3 weeks ago that I was even allowed to talk about that. And I'm still not allowed to talk about it.
I know the very hard on the NDAs. I had Superman's stunt double from the new Superman movie.
Right.
And I had him on last year. And he was speaking about Superman. And when I released the interview, I got an email from Warner Brothers asking me kindly to take, some stuff out. And they've promised to look after me. And funny enough, I've just had a parcel from Warner Brothers to celebrate Superman Day. So I've got some gifts downstairs to open up. But Reed, it's been an absolute pleasure. I'd love to have you on again with this
Anytime,
TV
Bryan. Show
that you can't talk about, which I'm very, very excited. But I'm going to stop the recording in a moment. But thank you so much for everyone watching. Go out and watch The Drop. Not the Drop. and check it out and comment on the video on what you thought about the movie. But Reed, look after yourself. Keep safe. Don't go anywhere. And we'll say goodbye properly in a second.
All right. Love you, buddy. Thanks.